and welcome back to another video for the TheAlleyWayStamps. And today I'm using two stamp sets. I'm using this balloon from Lighter Than Air and the sentiment is from More Than Words. And I'm starting out by creating my own stencil. So I'm just using a pencil and just a regular copy paper, and I'm drawing on some clouds. And the first clouds that I draw, they were a little bit too big, so I just made another line of clouds underneath it. And then I just use my scissors to cut them out. And if you have any acetate, you can create a stencil out of acetate instead, and then you can use it over and over again. And the tip is that if you create a stencil like this, make sure that all of the cloud shapes are rounded, otherwise it won't look good when you are inking it up later. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just rounding all of my clouds. And then I just cut the piece apart, because I'm going to use one piece to protect my work surface and the other one is the stencil. And I'm using Distress ink, and this is tumbled glass. And I'm just inking up my tool there, and then I will transfer the ink to the cardstock. And I think the trick to get a smooth blending is if you start off on the paper or on the stencil, and then you just softly in circular motions rub the ink on. And I'm not using any pressure here, I'm just very gently applying the ink. And I also shift the stencil in between each layer of clouds, so it will look different to create some interest. And on the next one I even turn my stencil around to even get more shapes. And if you are using a regular stencil or an acetate sheet, don't forget to wipe it off first. And now it's time to paper piece the air balloon, and I'm using this really old pattern paper pack from 3 Bugs in a Rug, and I'm just picking out some papers that I think will go good together. And if you are interested in any of the supplies that I use, they are listed on my blog, and you will find that address in the YouTube description. And I'm stamping my air balloon in Memento ink, and that's because I had my Memento out on my desk, but when you're doing paper piecing it doesn't matter what type of ink you're using. And then I just use my scissor and I will cut all of the pieces out. And when you are cutting out pieces that are rounded, I think it's easier if you hold your scissors quite still and instead you move the paper. I think you get a much cleaner cut if you do it like that. And I'm only doing one air balloon today, but you can of course use more air balloons if you want to. And then I use my brush tip marker to paint the edges, and I think this is a really good way to finish off the image. And I always paint from the back side, because if I make any mistakes, I will paint on the back side and it will never show. And now I stamp my balloon onto the card front. And then I just use my 2-way C glue pen to glue everything in place. And now everything is adhered. So it's time for the sentiment, and I'm using my Fiskars stamp press to stamp my sentiment because I want to make sure that I will stamp it straight. And I'm stamping this with Memento ink as well. Otherwise, one of my favorite inks is VersaFine when I'm stamping sentiments. But I just re-inked my memento, so this is also really black and crisp right now. So I'm just going over the stamp with my fingers to get a good impression, and then I use my corner jumper to round the edges. And I decided that I want one more element, so I'm using this really cute bird from the same stamp set, and I'm stamping it on top of the air balloon. And I started out coloring it with Copics, but then the colors didn't match, so I decided I would paper piece that little bird as well. So I just pulled out the red paper and the yellow paper, and I stamped the bird on there. So the bird is yellow and the wing is going to be red. So I just used the same procedure as I did with the air balloon. I just cut it out and I painted the edges with my marker, and then I glued it in place with my 2-way C glue pen. And then the card is done. So thank you guys for spending some time with me. I hope that you like the card, and see you soon. Take care. Bye.